Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man Score Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting to my second Shiny Gold Tails video for you guys, and this one's a spooky one because the title of this was called Three Allegedly True Scary Ghost Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights back off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
I was about 13 years old when this story took place.
Okay.
I lived in an old house just outside the city. It was surrounded by cornfields and forests. I'd lived there all my life before this happened. It was a dreamy summer night, which was almost normal for this place I lived. But on this particular night, something just felt off. I'd come home from soccer practice at around 6 p.m. My parents always had me in bed by 8. The night went on as usual. I ate dinner, played with my little sister, and did some weightlifting before bed. I got into bed at around 7:45. I'm a restless sleeper. I toss and turn and get up periodically throughout the night.
Yeah, I can tell you that back when I was in middle school and during the ninth grade year in high school, I was lifting some weights. I wish I didn't stop doing it. But also, I can be a sort of restless sleeper too, because there's sometimes I have to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom or get another glass of water because my mouth is dry. I get what he's talking about, but sometimes I just fall asleep afterwards like this in a snap. But anyway, let's continue.
Although I'm not sure exactly what time I fell asleep, I do know that I didn't have any of my usual episodes throughout the night. This was the first night I'd slept peacefully in years. I was suddenly awoken by a strange noise coming from the bathroom in my bedroom. Since I had to use the bathroom anyway, I decided to go check it out. I thought it might be a mouse or a bat, since we lived in the country and the house was old and has holes in the older walls.
Yeah, sometimes you hear a noise, you might think it's a rat or maybe a squirrel probably got in somehow or another. And if you go into an attic, it might be a bat flying around. You just don't know nowadays. But I guarantee you it's not one of those.
I went into the bathroom, and I didn't see anything, so I proceeded to the toilet. After I was finished, I washed my hands and my face, and while I was washing my face, I looked up at the large mirror that hangs over my sink. Since there was still water in my eyes, my vision was blurry, and I couldn't really see much. I thought I saw something behind me, but I figured it was just my mind playing tricks. I dried my face off and looked in the mirror again. Right behind me, there was a little girl clutching my body, almost as if she was hiding from something. Her ghostly outline scared me at first, but I kept looking. I could tell that whatever was scaring her was coming from the basement. So I walked to my basement door and opened it slightly at first, because I was very scared of what might be behind it.
Okay, I'll be jumping back if I saw a girl ghost clenching onto me, but then I'll be wondering, why is she near me? And if she's scared, I'll go investigate what's making her scared, like he's doing. So it's probably like a demonic entity down in the basement, so he better be careful.
This may sound strange, but I've lived in this house for my entire life, and I've never been in the basement. My dad mentioned to me that it had 3 separate parts, all separated by small windows that you could barely fit through. I walked down the basement steps all the way to the bottom where the light switch was. I turned it on, and all seemed like it was okay. That's until I heard what sounded like crying from one of the other parts of the basement. In my mind, I was really scared, but in my heart, I knew I had to find out what it was. So I ventured through the part of the basement, and the light couldn't reach the other side to the room where I was. It was pitch black. I still heard crying, but since it was so dark, I couldn't see anything. Something gave me the urge to go to the far corner of the room. Because of the way the moonlight reflected off the floor, you could kind of see with the light that there was. I walked over to the corner and stared directly into the middle of the room. There, in the middle of the room, was a chair. It had shackles for the feet and what looked like some type of restraint for the arms. That's when I noticed that there was someone sitting in that chair. I walked closer, only to reveal that it was the same little girl ghost that had been crying previously in the bathroom. She was also crying like before, and had needles stuck in her arms, draining some type of fluid into her. All was quiet till she started screaming. It was so high-pitched that it sounded like a siren or something of that nature. She was saying words, but I couldn't make out anything she was saying, until she spoke 5 menacing words that made my heart sink. She said, "Get out. Daddy is coming." Not even thinking twice, I sprinted up the basement stairs, tripping over my own feet, and I fell flat on my face when I reached the top. I got back up and ran to my parents' room and told them what happened. They went down there and checked everything out. I told them about the chair and the little girl who was screaming. They told me that there was no chair in the basement and that room didn't exist. Not believing them, I walked back down there, and the room where I saw the chair was gone. There had only ever been 2 parts to the basement, my dad said. I told him that I knew what I saw and that there had to be some kind of mistake, but I never did see that part of the basement again. I'm 18 now, and I decided to do some research on the house to see if there was any history that could explain what I saw.
Before he gets into the history aspect of this story, I'll be thinking that, oh crap, is there really a girl being tortured? But of course, if you saw a ghost, then she's dead already. But man, that'd be a freaky thing to see. That's almost like something you see in one of the Saw movies with all the torture traps.
I came across an article of a man who had been arrested in 1868 for doing lab experiments on his children. After the man was arrested, the police found all 12 skeletons of his children stuffed behind the basement stairs under debris and concrete. Now that I finally have moved out of that house, I can finally have an answer as to what happened that night. I'm finally at peace. But those 5 words still haunt me to this day. Get out. Daddy is coming.
Ooh. I not only got a chill up my spine, but my blood pressure has gone up. Because who in their right mind would experiment on their own kids? And then after he gets done experimenting with them, he just buries their skeletons in the basement. That just proves that he won't fit to be a father. If he only cared about his kids being lab rats, basically. But I'm glad that he was brought to justice back in the 1800s, but I'm just sad now that some of his kids' ghosts are just lingering around in that house when they can't move on. I guarantee you, if the parents knocked that Pacific wall that he cleared, he said he saw the chair at, you probably might find the other room. And it probably won't be a pretty sight to look at, that's for sure. But anyway, let's get to story number 2.
I'm a water treatment plant operator, and I've been doing it for about a decade. I've been the night shift guy for my whole career. The nights are normally quiet and can be boring if everything is going to plan. My plant has a few different buildings. The oldest is 60 years old. The main building I spend a majority of my shift in is roughly 20 years old. For more background of the area, this used to be a booming, energized place. The area was littered with railroad tracks and drifters coming and going on the trains of yesteryear. Our farms and factories were very bountiful back then. Now that you all understand that, you must also understand the success of the area also comes darkness. The silence of the night shift can be eerie on its own. Lots of bumps and bangs in the dimly lit darkness. The night I'm about to speak about started out normal. I came in at around sunset, got the nightly Passover, and began my work.
Oh, I guarantee you, if you're working in a building that has some historic significance, there may be some ghosts from the past lingering on. And especially at nighttime, that'll be the most spookiest. You hear a bump in the night, you'd be like, who goes there?
At around midnight, I had to do my rounds around the property while getting the nightly pump numbers. I made my rounds with nothing but a flashlight around the main building. The oldest building is a good walking distance from the main building. I set out in the dark and headed there. I must also add that we aren't in the nicest area of town. However, I'm a big guy, and I can handle myself. As I made my walk, I got an uneasy feeling. I had gotten them before, but I have a job to do, and nothing came out of it. I rounded the corner and unlocked the door, and as I did, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I opened the door, but there was nothing there, so I walked in and proceeded to get my numbers. I turned around to walk to the exit. As I turned around to shut the door, I looked up and down the hallway to see a woman in a pure white-looking dress looking at me through the other door. I almost jumped out of my boots and freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, I would be too, because you're in a water treatment plant and a woman in a dress would not be the first thing you'll see there in a facility like that. At first, I'll be thinking, like, is she trespassing or she need help?
I fell backwards, then looked up again and made eye contact with this entity. As I met her gaze, everything in me said, "Hey, your life is in danger, buddy." Her face distorted and started to shift around. I was now frozen as she shifted into what looked like some kind of a warrior stance. His eyes were glowing. As I got to my feet, he had shifted into a huge wolf-like creature. The growls were chilling, to say the least. They snarled and ran towards me. I had no time to even shut the door. I ran as fast as I could, screaming bloody murder. I felt it trying to bite my backside. It got a hold of my pant legs and tore it to shreds. I stumbled and rolled, but somehow managed to come to my feet. I darted into the main building, and as I shut the door, I felt a hard thud on the other side. I locked the doors and cowered down inside. I could hear the thing casing the building, growling and scratching at the walls. I got the courage to look out the window and ended up face to face with the white lady again. I had the police come and sit with me until the sun came up. No one else has seen the white lady since. It's still quite freaky, but I have a job to do.
No, I'll be like, that's it, I quit. Because if you have a white lady figure walking around the property and she's able to turn into like a wolf creature, that tells you that ain't no normal person that passed away. That's somebody or something demonic that takes the form of a woman and then turns into a wolf. But I'm surprised that wolf was able to make physical contact on his pants by trying to bite on him and was able to bump right into the door once he closed it. Yeah, that'll be something you definitely need to run away from. You get attacked by this entity, you'll probably never come out of the place alive. Man, that's just making my heart jump just thinking about there's ghosts like that out there in this world that can manifest into animals or some other dark being.
I'm a 31-year-old woman, married, and I recently moved back in with my parents because I moved back to my hometown. My husband and I are taking our time to find our own place. We wanted something nice in the area, and that's usually hard to find. This story takes place at my parents' house, starting 10 years ago. A description of the house for a bit of context. It's a 2-story brick house in the city limits, but still surrounded by nothing but woods.
That's the type of house I wouldn't mind living in. A 2-story, either brick or farmhouse, but it has to be in like the country limits because there's no way I'm paying high city taxes and utilities like all the town folks do. But it sounded like it must have been a nice place to grow up in. But anyway, let's continue.
The first time I set foot in the house, I immediately felt off. Like something just wasn't right. I felt a presence, but I didn't know who or what it was. I brushed it off at first, thinking I was just reading too much into it. I continued to feel this for the next couple of years, and because of this, I didn't much enjoy visiting my parents. My parents liked to gamble a lot back then, so they would ask me to babysit my baby brother and sister one day on the weekend. My boyfriend, now husband, loved them, so he would always babysit with me. The first few times, I didn't really pay much attention to the feeling that I would get, because I was busy playing or eating with the kids. After that, things kind of chilled out, and we would end up watching movies until it was time for us to go to bed. My husband is a freak of nature. It's like he falls asleep the second his eyes are closed. I, on the other hand, take forever to get comfortable and wind down my mind. I also don't sleep that well, even when I do finally nod off. This night was the first time that I saw or heard anything in this brand new house. In this room, the bed's facing the doorway, but not directly in front of it. With the double doors open, you can see the front of the staircase and all the way down the hallway as long as the light is on. On this night, only one of the lights was on in the hallway. I was laying in bed with the TV on, but the volume was down so that I could hear one of the kids if they called me. I was almost asleep when I heard one of my siblings coming down the stairs. I opened my eyes and waited for them to get to the bottom, but they never did. I didn't think anything of it. I closed my eyes and began to drift off again.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that it is cool that she found somebody that would like her younger siblings and help babysit with her just so she won't be doing it by herself. That's awesome. So that proves to you that if you guys decide to have kids, it'll be great with them. But also, if you're hearing footsteps running towards your room and they don't call out your name, I guarantee you it's not your younger siblings. It's probably a ghost.
A few minutes later, I heard it again. So I opened my eyes and waited, but again, they never got to the bottom. This time I sat up and listened, a bit spooked, but nothing I couldn't handle. I got a bit nervous, but I still wanted to check if they were there, because maybe they were too scared to come in, but no one was there. Confused and thinking that I must be dreaming it up, I went back to bed, this time closing one of the double doors. A few hours later, around 2:30 a.m., I felt like someone was very near me, as if they were standing right next to the bed in front of me. Usually when I opened my eyes, I would see the green glow of the alarm clock on the bedside table, but this time, I saw nothing. It was pitch black. I couldn't even see the hallway light, and the TV had turned off on its own. I felt like I couldn't move. I was awake now, and scared to my bones, finally able to call my husband's name loud enough for him to wake up. He reached over and turned on the light, and right then, the scared feeling went away, and I was able to move. I freaked out and started crying. I couldn't begin to explain to him what had happened, and even if I did, he wouldn't believe me. So I told him I was having a bad nightmare, and asked him to check on the kids. When he came back, he said the kids were fine, then got back in bed. With the lights on, I was able to fall back to sleep, but it took forever. The next day, I told my mom about what happened. That's when she told me that she had been hearing footsteps on the stairs at night, and even saw someone standing by the door at times. She didn't tell anyone because she didn't want to scare the kids.
Well, you could have told your older daughter there. She probably would have believed you. Since she said she felt a weird presence when she walked in the house. But I get it, you don't want to tell the younger kids because they will be freaked out and don't want to live there no more.
That's when she told me what she had done. She wanted to know what was going on in her house, so she bought a voice recorder. One day, she used it when she went up the stairs and everyone was gone. She asked all the typical questions. Who's here? What do you want? And why are you here? And then said, you have passed away and need to go to the light. You're not welcome here. The next day, she decided to leave the recorder in one of the bedrooms upstairs. It was recording for 4 hours while she was out running errands. I asked if she had checked it, and to my surprise, she was too afraid to listen to it alone. I wanted to listen, so we went off to the computer and began listening to it after it was uploaded. During the 4 hours she was gone, you could hear some clicking or tapping, sounds of a drawer opening and closing, but we weren't sure. Then we listened to the part where she was asking questions. You could hear a sound that resembled some kind of fan or static throughout the whole thing, so some of the sounds were indistinguishable. But the one sound we did hear that was clear chilled us to the core. When she asked, what do you want? It gave us an answer. The answer was Jamie, who was my little brother. It didn't answer any of the other questions except that one. I cried immediately. It turned out he wasn't having night terrors for no reason. Something was there for him every night.
Call the priest, get an exorcist going on, and see if you can get that demon out of the house. Because if he wants your younger brother, that ain't good. Seems like he just wants to kill an innocent boy.
We soon asked a friend to cleanse the house. For a long time, everything was okay. My brother stopped having night terrors. My mom was able to sleep comfortably, and all was good. Until now. I've been living in the house for about a month and a half, and for the last 3 weeks, I've been seeing things everywhere, especially when I'm alone. Because of this, I won't stay alone anymore. I get this strong feeling of being watched. I have the feeling of someone pulling on my blanket at night. I think it's time for another cleanse.
I'm glad that they did a cleansing and it worked, but when it started back up, you might want to try harder with either the cleansing ritual or call a priest to do an exorcism, because if there's a demon in that house, you need to take care of it with that. Or just call a priest in to pray really hard over the house and see if they could get spirits that were left to move to heaven or hell. But I'm just glad all of the bad stuff subsided. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it didn't spook you out too much. But this has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Core channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications for more Shiny Gold Tales reactions like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Core channel. I said that's a wrap, and have a nice day, y'all.